Are you listening? Damn.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to the Business of Influence podcast with me, Leroy Mark.
And Tami Rasheen.
And we're having wonderful conversations as usual because the world of influence is out there for us to all make money out of.
It's busy.
Listen, I've had a great season, man. The guests we've had, the conversations we've had.
Phenomenal.
I was saying in the last episode, I get the fizz now where I'm like, ooh.
Totally.
As I'm driving around, I'm like, I must write that down so I can ask Tami about that. Ooh. So it's really, really crazy. So glad you could join us. Of course, this always happens every single week. This is season 2. We're bringing you all the chats, everything to do with the business of influence and influencer marketing.
So what are we talking about today?
So, Tami, we're talking about how to scale influencer marketing for brands and influencers. So the whole idea about scaling, right, is that, you get to a point, and you're a business owner, you get to a point where you're like, okay, we're doing it well, we're doing okay, but we need to do something else. We need to really raise the bar. And this happens when you are an influencer. This happens when you're a brand that works with influencers and needs your marketing. So today we'll be chatting about how you elevate your business, but also when do you start looking to grow the business a bit bigger, especially in the influencer space. So there's lots coming up. So my first question for you, Tami, is...
All right, let's see if I can answer.
We work with brands every single day.
Yeah.
And when you look at brands, you sometimes feel like you are seeing them, but you're not really engaging with them. Like you just see a brand, you go, oh.
From an influencer promotion
even just as a consumer, you're driving around, you see the billboard, but you don't actually see it. You see the conversation on the timeline, but you're actually hearing them.
Yes.
Because they're just not new. Do you sometimes have that feeling?
Yes, absolutely. And it feels very ironic just based off the last episode. Because for me, that boils down to, has it reached a stage of being, is it now stagnant?
Yeah.
What is that next? And what does scaling actually mean? What does that look like?
Yeah.
So when it comes from a brand perspective, and obviously you'll speak from the influencer side as well, is what does scaling mean and what does it look like in its entirety? So what is that next?
So I always think about, and you're the perfect person to ask this because you're a business owner, right? So you've always constantly thinking about, okay, we have now moved from just being in my study or in my garage.
Yeah.
And you had to scale at some point where you started moving into an office space.
You've got the cycle.
Yeah, you've got the cycle. And then you were chatting just a few moments ago about how you now have to hire another member of staff because there's just something that has become really inundating. With brands you're big on strategy. So you're massively, massively good at it. And it's one of your, Tami is the queeneth of strategicness. Okay.
I love it.
When you're doing strategy, do you also factor in for when the life cycle of this strategy will be from a brand point of view?
Absolutely. So for us at Style ID, first of all, it's understanding the brand's current rollout.
Okay.
When I say current, I'm talking at least the first 6 months of the year. From let's just take January. From January up until June, we have to know what the entire marketing strategy is for the brand. And then what we do while we are in those 6 months is how we're going to level up and scale after those 6 months, because we're not going to go and churn out the exact same approach from July to December or however long the cycle is. But while we're in the current phase, we're already thinking about scaling for the next cycle.
I find that when the brands get to a point where even their campaigns, their once-off campaigns feel like just another thing happening, that it's time for them to sort of move up to the next level.
I'm seeing that so much.
You know what I mean?
I'm really like, when I'm stalking and scrolling through my socials, and it does seem like it's just this cut and paste and this cut and paste. It's time for brands to and I'm going to use two words throughout this episode, being scale and level up, because it's not this cut and paste. And then that's when it becomes stagnant. And then that's when, they'll say, well, my engagement's too low, or I'm not reaching the KPIs, because you're just churning out the same thing.
And I think you fall into the trap of, because you using the same stuff, same people, same influences, you almost know what kind of content you're going to get, and people are almost used to you having that. And
absolutely.
And I find that the moment, and even in my research for this episode, the term that kept coming through is that you need to get other people to do the creating for you. You need to almost export it to, or outsource it to content creators, where you get more user generated content.
Absolutely, and change up the plan. When we start seeing that the brand is the content is becoming stagnant, we then analyze. So we it's all about the data. So for instance, the team at Style ID will go and analyze, well, is it influencer specific? We'll go and analyze if we've worked with a pool of influencers for a duration of time. Is it the influencer that needs to change, or the influencers that need to change? Is it the types of content that need to change? Is it more exposure on different channels? But we can only give feedback to the brands once we deep dive into the data and then present that to them. We can't just go and say, oh, well, I think you need to do this and do that. What is the data that we've been given to?
So when you say data, all I'm hearing is research, right?
So much research.
because I'm finding that even with the brands, what they're doing become lazy when they become very clear about their brands, right? Like we were chatting earlier on about the whole idea of social listening, right? You listen to what's happening on the ground, and because you're not wanting to be, you're afraid of stepping on toes, you're afraid of expanding your conversation, you're afraid of your research, going a bit further than what you're used to, that you're almost comfortable with staying.
But that for me frustrates me so much. So for instance, being comfortable is actually the worst place to be in. And that's from a brand perspective, from a business perspective, from an influencer perspective. There has to be that level, even if it's a few percent, of just feeling uncomfortable and testing and experimenting, because ultimately, and from our research,
our many researches,
consumers want brands to change things up, because they get bored so quickly.
And in the world where we have so much that we're consuming on an hourly basis, I'm not even saying on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, where in a drive from here to Sandton, we're consuming thousands upon thousands of moments. When brands get to the point, and it's what you were saying earlier on about getting, because we're so used to the rollout, forecast, trend analysis, that we take time, and after a while you don't realize that actually you're stagnating, it's not just a tick box exercise. I always say that when you see a brand starting to get a bit tired, it's when even they don't know what they're advertising. Like they sort of like, we just have a campaign about this new thing we have.
Just get so-and-so to go, no, what's the rationale? What are you changing up? There has to be ways to optimize and maximize in order to scale. So for us and our clients, scaling the influencer program can be in multiple ways. And so it's not just about, as I mentioned, it's not just about how many influencers or, it's, are we scaling the content? Are we scaling the number of pieces? Are we actually working toward the brand repurposing the content on their channels if they don't already do that, be the influencer content being a part of their digital strategy. So there are multiple ways we can scale the programs. Another one, or one of the most recent ones actually, how we're scaling the program is tapping into a completely new audience.
So I'm interested in that because I was chatting to you about one of the fitness lifestyle brands. And I
Yeah.
said, they've been very good in getting us to be front of mind with them because they've got a
Yes.
host of influencers that they use, apart from their, digital and the other
Yes.
marketing assets. And what they've done now is just up the ante just a little bit because now
it's been
a nightmare.
a journey. Let's call it a journey.
But you guys were then able to start maybe going into the stores. The activations were now becoming a bit bigger because you're not removing, but you're adding on and scaling up the interaction that they have.
Layers.
Yeah.
It's all layered. And especially with that particular brand, it's been a journey in terms of, okay, the program that we ran for the last, let's say, 12 months got X, and there's very specific KPIs in place for that. But now we have to expand our reach and our audience, and we're not just going to fit into, let's just say, your 25 to 34 age bracket.
Yep.
Now we're tapping into your Gen Z, your, let's say, 16 to 24-year-old. Okay, brand X, this is the entire strategy now, and that's a level of scaling a program.
So my favorite part about the scaling is the idea that because we are now expanding the reach of the people that we're using to create our content, that be influencers, that be in-house where we're creating content that we're going to consume ourselves that doesn't include influencers, that we're now looking to have different stories.
Correct.
And because there's different stories, it means that there's more user-generated content. Great.
Correct.
User-generated content also means it resonates with different people because
Correct.
no two users are exactly the same. And because we're growing that way, you're now scaling the audience as you would in a business that sells oranges and bananas. You're going, okay, if I increase the variety, I
like
appeal to more people.
Yes.
And yes, I'm still selling fruit.
Yes.
But now I realize that not everyone wants to just consume apples and bananas. I sent you the one document. It was fascinating to me about how, especially with the the sportswear brands, they are very deliberately making running shoes that are at lower medium as far as financially.
At the moment with that.
But then there's ones where like they specifically now catering for dads, like the dad who wears the trainers every day but isn't an athlete, because they know that he wears this, and why not cater for him? And now the audience is being broadened. That means the reach is being broadened, and there's now more variety.
Correct.
So
Correct.
And you say you don't drop knowledge. Leave me be.
Impressed.
But I want to chat about how do you then make sure that when you're scaling up, you're not also alienating, right? Because we had in a previous conversation, we were chatting about how you need to find your niche, be authentic. This from a brand point of view.
Okay.
And even in a content creator point of view, then you now realize, okay, we've now reached like where we're doing okay, we're good here, we can rely on these babies over here. What do we do now to up the ante without sort of like alienating the people who you've accumulated over the last 12 months in your strategy?
So it's an interesting one, that, and I can't give away all the trade secrets.
Oh, please, just a few.
Offline, maybe. I'm trying to think how I should say this now.
Without selling the entire business.
What we've actually done is found other avenues for the influencers to take part in. So as we're expanding and scaling the current program,
by program you mean the strategy that you have developed for your client.
Yes. Always on influencer program. The current or previous pool of influencers, it's not that there was any alienation or okay, cheers, it's there's been 3-4 years of building that momentum, but we've just created another avenue to utilize that particular pool of influencers. Probably not making sense because I can't divulge too much. But for instance, okay, let me try and explain it like this. We let's just say we're running an always on, and now it's time to scale.
Yeah.
We introduce new influencers, we change up the strategy, change up the audience. But now we go and implement an affiliate program.
Okay.
An influencer affiliate program.
Okay.
So the new influencers won't necessarily take part in that, but the pool of influencers that we previously worked with will be moved to that section.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Am I making sense?
Yes.
Am I getting somewhere?
What is an affiliate program?
Oh, Leroy, we need to bring a guest in. We actually had someone on our webinar.
Yeah.
Okay. When you have, so affiliate programs are, there's a lot of education that still needs to happen in South Africa with affiliate programs. Very big internationally, and we're starting to implement affiliate programs with our clients. I'll give you a quick 1 minute because it's different discussion, but you utilize influencers. They are your affiliates to drive traffic to your e-commerce app downloads, the destination, and they actually earn commission of their sales. So we did a lot in the travel industry where you are an affiliate driving online bookings or whatever it may be, and you are an always on because you're constantly pushing that. And the more it's the more you sell, the more you earn.
I love this. So affiliate programs.
But the South African market's not there yet.
So affiliate programs, the travel industry is more akin to it. So you would then be able to take the same content creators and then put them in this affiliate program, whether it's to drive sales, whether it's to drive awareness, whether to drive a particular product, so that me, who's a consumer who's been with you for the last month, can say, I know who these people are. And because I've built the relationship, they all come back to
So we've just kind of moved them from this program
to the other program.
We've run it very successfully for tech brands as well. And that was specifically a TikTok affiliate program. So it can be done in multiple ways. So affiliate is another way to scale.
I think, and this is such a crucial thing, because affiliate for me means that as a brand, when you start looking about your year strategy, right, about the products that you're putting together, whatever you are, when you start thinking about that, you will have a program where you have affiliates who are going to be driving traffic or whatever, traffic, sales, brand visibility. You're then able to, in your mind, think about how you're scaling. You're almost forced to scale in.
Absolutely. It's such a wild and amazing way to scale. And we're still trying to figure out why South African brands are just not leveraging off this.
I think also there's a huge issue about the trust factor with the security around being able to get something from someone that they get a commission on. I think there's the financial sort of response might be something that's an impediment.
Tools, and we have in-house technologies that manage all of that, and you can literally go and see that you've earned 30,000 Rand this month as an affiliate, or you've earned 10,000 Rand, and that makes you even more hungry. And then you start pushing. Look, with affiliate programs, a lot I will definitely say that the brands need to be open to very authentic content, because these influencers are pushing it out, and it's not brand approval.
Which goes back to our conversation we had about social listening, right? That you're now also allowing your infrastructure around your crisis comm social listening PR must be so strong that even if one slips off, you're ready to say, we got you, and we're moving that. I love that. And so chat to me then about how now when we start scaling up, marketing is such it's a hard, not unmeasurable, but hard to measure metric, because sometimes you can't necessarily always put rands and cents on a particular program. You might ask for the KPIs to be increase in sales or whatever, but you can't always get it to the rand.
To the T,
and when we increase the scaling up, does the return of investment, in your opinion, and I know I'm putting you among the pigeons here, does it always accord in your anecdotal evidence where the return on the KPIs becomes
More.
proportionally that higher?
It depends, because also part of the scaling, it might be, okay, you now expanding to TikTok.
Yeah.
So you need more creators there and whatever. So there is a bit of trial and error as we go until we find momentum. It's not necessarily to say more creators means more ROI, more, more better results, So there's definitely, some trial and error with new things to see what's working and what's not. But it all depends in terms of what the KPIs are.
So I'm going to flip it and talk about the influencers, right? Because we've had conversations prior about how when as an influencer, you're trying to scale up your business, you have to get the real estate that you need. You need a media kit, you need to have a rate card, you need to have your analytics ready. You have to have all your platforms on business so that you can pull out the analytics.
Correct. So tell us.
Well, I think it's very similar to what you've been saying. I think you've literally put the nail on the head. It's just that it has to be tweaked for influencers. For instance, you're saying about how we are constantly creating content from moving from a once-off campaign to having more always on. Scaling the variety of influencers that you have and having them not only for one campaign, but having them for 12 months, a year. And I want to almost say that there has to be a difference between content creation and being an influencer. And you are both, but not all of the time. Okay.
Absolutely.
So when you don't have work happening, so we don't have paid work coming in, that's when you're a content creator. And the difference between a content creator and an influencer is that when you're content creating, you're building the business, you're building the brand of the business. And what I mean by that is you're literally setting up what your product is. You're setting up what type of niches you're working in, and
how you expanding and
how you expanding the expansion of the niches too. And what we were saying earlier on, it always goes back to the research, because you need to know what's happening in your industry. I always say about the makeup influencers and the beauty influencers that sometimes my frustration with them is that they don't know how to give us new information. There's only so many ways you can do a brow, right? Talk to me about niacinamides. Talk to me about hyaluronics. Talk to me about retinols.
It's very interesting you say that, because we've just done a strategy differentiating between a key opinion leader, an influencer, and a content creator. Right down there. So each one is very different. There is overlap, but there is room for expansion with influencers to scale themselves within those pillars.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why I say that you need to start moving to being able to, your pivot to both of them. Because when you're a content creator, you're creating content that is there to build a business. It's literally going and getting the marketing material right. You're going and getting the building. You're getting all the stuff that makes the business work.
Yeah.
And when you get a campaign coming in, it's then being asked to, in the business, here's the brief. Here's the work we need you to do. But when there is no brief, the work still happens. It's like a birthday cake.
It has to happen.
I keep saying it's like a birthday cake. When I make a birthday cake, I make the most generic of birthday cakes that is able to show off my skills.
You've never told me this so far.
Well, listen up. So when you make the cake, you don't stop making cake because there's no orders for cakes. You need to show off your skills.
Got
you need to hone the skills. So and what you'll do is today you'll make a custard slice.
Yes.
Even if it doesn't sell.
Yes.
And then tomorrow you'll make a red velvet thing. You're doing it because you're honing the craft.
Got you.
And then you're going to buy new machines because you're getting ready for when the birthday comes. They say, we want 20 red velvet. You go, I've been talking about that.
Yes.
And it's also being able to take moments to use what's happening in the media at the time. Why? For relevance. Because when you're busy building the business, as you are when you are a company, right? our brands, they're putting out stuff that they want us to know. We've got new shoes, we've got new t-shirts, we've got new pants. That's good. That's the everyday things. But when moments come where you get a moment to really show off, then you can do that as if it's a campaign.
Got you.
And on top of your normal always on.
Yes.
You getting me?
Yes.
So you get all the fizz going
Correct.
on, but you also get still building the business quietly and scaling up as it goes.
But from a content creator and influencer perspective, how would Leroy know when it's time to scale and level up?
When you're literally getting the same response all the time.
Like what?
So if I get 300 likes for a photo, for instance, so I go to gym, and let's say I'm a fitness influencer.
Yeah.
Okay. I go to gym, I post myself doing a lunge, I post myself doing a burpee, 300. The comments are all the same. Great burpee, great. And then they just stop going. They start, the engagement and interaction just becomes stagnant.
Okay.
Where you used to get 0.5% or 1% engagement, now you're getting 0.5, 0.25. And that's when your listeners are getting bored, but they also know what you're going to bring.
Yes.
So what I said, for instance, was if I was a beauty influencer and I'm always doing tutorials and they're like, oh, not another tutorial. It's elections. Why don't we do, eyeshadow in the colors of the parties?
Do you think creators are fearful?
I don't think
to experiment.
I think they
see. It's going back to the comfortable situation.
It's a comfortable situation, but also because they're not preparing for when someone wants to come order a birthday cake. What they're doing is they just keep making the same cupcake because they like the color. Whereas when you're really a content, this is what the difference is between an influencer and a content creator. A content creator says, I've done content. It's the same. What can I do to level up my content? Can I use subtitles? Can I use new lighting? Can I do it outside?
But again, for me, that would also boil down to the data and analyzing your data.
Yeah.
Has your engagement dropped? Has your,
as you did with the brands.
Correct.
The brands are going, you're not hearing us anymore. What do I do to make you hear me?
Yes.
And it goes back to research, social listening, and trend analysis.
Would you say scaling for an influencer would be similar in terms of exploring another channel or
Absolutely.
a different content type, as you said?
Absolutely. Yeah. So what you do is, and you introduce it on times when you don't have the campaigns.
Yes.
So I want to really get into makeup brands, right? So I was saying, we've moved into a new place, for instance, and I've always been lifestyle, fashion, whatever. I want to really include cooking because I'm cooking all the damn time, right? So now I'm going to come to you and say, oh, listen, this is me cutting a tomato. This is me cutting I've now made a sauce, guys. I've now made my own pasta. Oh, my word. A year down the line, they're calling me a home chef. In the beginning, I was just grating a tomato.
Exactly.
And it's what you were saying. Now in your strategy, you're always thinking, we need to move up a level. What is the thing we're adding or removing? Because I can tell you, for instance, right now, there's some things I need to cut off on my suite of offerings. Because not because they're not lucrative, but because I'm not there anymore.
Gotcha. You've evolved.
I'm evolved. I'm not really interested in telling you about, going to this club or, and so I want to start involving some of the new things. Like I'm getting more pains and ails in my body, and I'm finding that I'm getting, but I'm finding that like there's these medicines that I really enjoy. Now I'm using tea as a fitness tool. That's incredible, right?
What tea?
So infusion, so you can get like chamomile to help you with the calming down. But you also have inflammation because of all the tension headaches. Yes. So you can use peppermint and lavender. Yeah,
now, what I want to do with that is, because that's key. Again, this came down to another strategy I was doing. But what I think influencers also need to do, and what we do for brands, is they need to do a bit more research. And when I say research, it's not just on the data. Well, yes, they need to analyze their audience. Okay. What age group? Number one is their audience. And I'll tell you why I say that. Let's just take your Gen Zs, for instance. In the fitness and wellness space, as an example, the Gen Zs are interested in self-care.
Yeah.
Holistic wellness.
Yes.
Stress management, anxiety management, So even as a fitness influencer, for instance, one could talk about those different avenues. It's not just the next meal plan or the next burpee or the next whatever. Talk about topics that are relevant to your audience and do your research.
I was saying to Lesedi earlier on that I listen to this one radio station where they've got this feature every single morning. I mean, every single morning, 5 days a week, all year round on fitness.
Yeah.
But now tell me, there's only so many ways you can do a burpee, right? But the topics are so interesting because the one day she'll come and talk about tea as a mode of detoxing.
Amazing.
Yeah. The other one she did the other day, she was talking about using your work stress as your workout motivation, called Fury
Amazing.
training, where and then you can do like boxing, and you can do that's when you really go in for all the hard adrenaline things. And the other day she was talking about...
This is what I feel influencers should be talking about.
Yeah, but this is exactly why you and I are here, because we're trying to show that...
Because do you know how often I see, and you as well see, okay, the fitness influencer posting the workout. Okay, you've told me how many reps and sets to do. Now what? Like, do you know what I mean? Where's the meat?
I'll give it to you in a different way. I've got so many of those videos saved. When I actually do a leg day, I've got 19 of these guys showing me how to do a leg day, and I only have an hour. So I don't know what to do with all this information because none of it is the R word relevant.
I'd be interested what would happen to a piece of content of theirs if they started talking about the... What did you call it? Fury exercises.
So my thing is, when you're scaling up as a content creator, you also have to think like a business.
Absolutely.
A business can't just say to you, "We've released a new shampoo." Why? We're happy with the shampoo we have.
Content creators need to do a ton of research, and
it goes back to those 3 points you were saying: the social listening, the research, and the trend analysis to say, is this a trend that will last? Is this something that can be sustainable? Can I live with it? So in the same radio station, they chat about how you need to try a workout out for about 3 weeks before you can say it works or doesn't work. So for someone like me who's into HIIT, right, the high impact, high intensity stuff, and
that's what's causing your aches and pains.
Yeah, that's my aches and pains. But for you might find that you go, Leroy, I found Pilates. And I'm like, okay.
But I'm also the high intensity girl.
You see what I mean? And then what if we can find one that meets both our needs, where we do high intensity Pilates?
Yeah.
Gyms, come back to me. So my response to your scaling as a brand is that we should be doing the same thing.
Absolutely.
Because that's where
I'd
we
be
move on.
interested to know influencers out there who does their research
and scales. Yeah, and who you
Please tell us.
And you see it with people who, when you start looking at how their brands grow and the brands they work with, you start going, oh, you're working with like blue chip tech company, where at the beginning you were the guy who used to get the scraps off the table.
I've got one influencer in mind that has definitely scaled up.
You see?
Yeah.
And maybe we should have them in and do a little...
I think so.
Stay tuned. So parting shots time. How do you scale up a business? What should we remember? What do you think we should keep in mind as brands? And I'll do one for the influencers.
There's so much. You can't make...
We're trying to listen to the whole podcast and then implement every part of it. And it's really true. It really is true. It really is true.
There's too much because there's so many different facets. But affiliate marketing, definitely one avenue to scale up.
And I think for you is also in your strategy, work out your upscaling.
Yes.
In your current strategy, think about your tomorrow strategy.
Yes.
And literally, I'm saying that for the influencers as well. While you're off, trying to get seen by the brands and doing your work at the ranch, do the work, strategize about the next turn, how you're going to grow it, add the banana in the fruit sample and the stand.
All these metaphors today.
I know, right? Wow. It was full of them. Add more fruit to your fruit basket and see how your variety grows.
Thanks for tuning in.
And it's been the Business of Influence podcast with me, Leroy Mark.
And Tami Rashid.
And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Love that bananas.